Have you ever thought about starting your own podcast? When I was trying to get this podcast off the ground, I had a lot of questions. How do I record an episode? How do I get my show into all the apps people like to listen? How do I make money from my podcast? The answer to every one of these questions is really simple. Anchor. Anchor is a one-stop shop for recording, hosting, and distributing your podcast. Best of all, it's 100% free and ridiculously easy to use. And now, Anchor can match you with great sponsors who want to advertise on your podcast. That means that you can get paid to podcast right away. In fact, that's what I'm doing right now by reading this ad. So if you've always wanted to start a podcast, make money doing it, go to anchor.fm/start. Join me in the diverse community of podcasters already using Anchor. That's anchor.fm/start. I can't wait to hear your podcast. This is the Ham and Turkey. This is your host, EJ. And today we'll be talking about a topic that is very near and dear to me. We're going to talk about the movie Black Panther. And I got some different takes I want you guys to listen to. So let's get into it. Sonic boom. Sonic boom. Sonic boom. I want to start off by letting everyone know that I pride myself on being a fair-minded individual. So when I'm giving a review of this movie, I want everyone to realize that I'm being objective and I'm being fair with the criticism that this movie has garnered. So I've thought about it, sat and talked with other people, and also wrote down things that I've liked about the movie and things that I don't like about the movie. So first off, I want to start off with the things that I did like about the movie. So first off, I want to talk about the cast. I think everyone that they chose for Black Panther was awesome. Specifically, two people. Chadwick Boseman, of course. I feel he did a great job. I feel like he was prepped for this role. The fact that he played Thurgood Marshall, he played Jackie Robinson, and he also played James Brown. So he kind of was like prepped for this role as like the black superhero because he had been doing it for a minute. And so he did an awesome job. And then I want to get to the actual highlight of the movie in terms of performance. I think that this is Michael B. Jordan's best role to date as Killmonger. I think he portrayed him very well. He was a great antagonist. I think this is the first time he's ever played like a serious antagonist, if I'm not mistaken. But I just think from the beginning to the end, his part had you captivated. From the beginning scene where he was talking to that librarian about that shield or that shovel, I forgot what it was, but he was talking to him. He was explaining that it came from Wakanda and it wasn't actual metal, it was vibranium. I love that part, and when they robbed that museum. And then at the end, I loved his quote when he got finished fighting Black Panther towards the end. When Black Panther tried to help him, he said, "I'd rather be buried in the seas with my ancestors than be a slave for the rest of my life." And I love that quote. And his energy overall in that whole movie was just, it was a great antithesis to what Black Panther was, and I really, really loved it. Also, I noticed that Black Panther was written very well too. They tried to infuse some of the black culture lines into the movie. I'm specifically speaking of when his sister was talking to T'Challa and she was asking him about his shoes, and she said, "What are those?" I like that. I really like the way it was written. Also, I really like the special effects that was in the movie, the way they portrayed Wakanda in terms of from a special effects perspective. The ships, the flying ships and things of that nature just made it look real futuristic, and it made Wakanda literally look like another world, and that's kind of how it was portrayed in the comic books. Like Wakanda was this great nation and this great world that was so much more technologically advanced than anything that people had ever seen before. The only mention in the MCU of vibranium up until that point, if I'm not mistaken, is in Captain America's first Avenger when they first talked about his shield and they talked about what metal was this made from. They said it's made from vibranium and nobody knew what it was about. So I really love that aspect of it. Also, another thing that I really enjoyed about the movie was the second end credit scene where T'Challa was addressing the United Nations and speaking about peace and really speaking about how Wakanda will now open up its borders so that they can make a more peaceful nation and have more lasting relationships with the other nations in the world. And I just really thought that was really impactful just because, you know, with the time that we live in now, with our president choice and things of that nature, I just feel, since I know that this movie was very captivating to the black audience, I felt that more black people should have really focused on that and internalized that and asked what they could do to, you know, put that message in their own lives. And that's what I think that sometimes people don't really look at in terms of movies, like greater meanings of things and greater messages of things. And I feel like that was a greater message that I really, really love, that I feel like more people should internalize and try to apply to themselves, because I just feel like in this time, it's just everything is just always caught up about, you know, what race you are, what culture you are, what sexual orientation you are, you know, just things that don't matter. And just for that movie to put that message in there with the time that we live in now, I just thought that was really great and a great positive message for all that watch. Lastly, with things I loved about the movie, it's not more of something that I love, it's something positive that I want to come from the movie. So I think that two things. I think that first and foremost, Black Panther should get consideration for Best Picture at the Oscars. Secondly, Michael B. Jordan should get a lot of love for Best Supporting Actor. First off, I did some research and I figured out that in the last 10 years, the Oscars hasn't even nominated a superhero movie for Best Picture. Now just think about that. It hasn't even been nominated. You think about all the great superheroes movies that's been out within the past 10 years in the MCU and in the DCU for that matter. Just think about all the great movies like 2008, 2009 when they had The Dark Knight. Didn't even get nominated. So I just feel like since the numbers stated Panther is the third highest grossing movie ever, I think that it should get some serious recognition for Best Picture. And see, I know my dad was talking to me about the way the Academy, you know, votes on Best Picture, and he was saying that the way they vote for Best Picture is sometimes the movies have to have like a greater meaning. And honestly, I just got finished talking about like a greater meaning and like a deeper meaning that Black Panther tried to portray to people. And also, it was the third highest grossing movie ever. So I just don't really see how it could not get any consideration for Best Picture. And so, like I said, in the last 10 years, one hasn't even been nominated. So hopefully that I want that one positive to come out of this. And secondly, like I said before, this was Michael B. Jordan's best role to date. And the fact that the movie sold as much as it did and grossed as much as it did domestically and worldwide, Michael B. Jordan should get some love for Best Supporting Actor at the Oscars. I mean, the year is still young, so there's going to be a bunch of other movies that come out. But so far at this moment, I just feel like Michael B. Jordan should get that love that he deserves. And it looked like he put in a lot of hard work to play this role. Like I said, I don't remember him playing any antagonists in any movies that he's been in. So I feel like he should get some serious consideration for Best Supporting Actor. Now I want to go into the things about the movie that I didn't necessarily like and what I thought about it was not fair. So before I go into this, I just want people to know that I've talked to other people about this. I've ran it past some other people to see what they think. And again, I just want to remain objective and I want to inject some objectivity into the listener's mind just to give you a different perspective to think about. Like I just got finished talking about things that I loved about the movie. So now, again, since I'm reviewing the movie, I have to talk about things that I didn't like. So first off, I want to start off by talking about the hype machine. So I feel Black Panther got a lot of hype due to the fact that the cast was all black. Excuse me, it was predominantly black, actually, because there were 2 white actors in there. And one white actor in there, actually, the captain, he actually had a very, very prominent role in the movie. So, again, what is my evidence for saying that it was a part of the hype machine? Black Panther had the highest pre-ticket sales of any Marvel movie ever. Ever. That's of Avengers and Avengers 2. Both Avengers and Avengers 2 are in the top 10, if I'm not mistaken, or 10 or 15 or 20. It's in the top 20 of highest grossing movie of all time. So I just want to understand, how does Black Panther have the highest pre-ticket sales of those 2 movies? And I will tell you, because of the hype machine. So my dad was explaining something to me, and I felt I should explain it to you guys, because he went on to say that the black populace, the black GDP, is the same amount as a small country. So if you think about that, you think about every black person, that's basically like every black person, or any of your friends going out and buying a pre-ticket for Black Panther. So it makes perfect sense. However, what I want to get into also is whether I want to know if it actually garnered that much. Now, I went and saw the movie, obviously, and I saw it and I reviewed it. And I just want to be honest with all the listeners out there that it was not the greatest superhero movie ever. It really was not. I can name 4 or 5 movies off the top of my head that was better than that. Batman: The Dark Knight was better than Black Panther. Batman, the last one with Bane, that was better than Black Panther. Logan was better than Black Panther. Civil War was better than Black Panther. Like, there's a lot of movies that were better than this Black Panther movie. And so the thing about it is, it's like, one thing that I don't like is when, since a movie gets so much hype, it automatically is great. And so I just feel like a lot of people just like really aren't objective when they say that Black Panther is the greatest superhero movie or the greatest movie ever. It's not. Why are you saying that Black Panther is the greatest movie ever? You're saying Black Panther is the greatest movie ever because of the cast. So it really didn't matter whether or not it was a great movie or not. The only thing that people cared about was the fact that the cast was predominantly black. And again, the acting was great. There's a lot of great things about the movie. However, it just wasn't the greatest movie of all the time. And see, that's what I'm here for. I'm here to just inject some objectivity to the movie. If you literally only went to see the movie just because black people were predominantly in the movie, I honestly feel like that's a wrong reason to go see the movie. It's okay to support your own, but be objective about it. Now, if you haven't seen any of the other Marvel movies or any of the DCU movies, I don't see how you can honestly have an opinion and say that this is the greatest movie ever. You shouldn't just go see the movie just because you're black. You should see the movie because it's a movie and I want to go see it because it's a great movie, or it could be a great movie, not because the cast is black. Again, and I want to reiterate that my issue lies with the black people that went to see the movie that aren't objective. That's where my issue lies, because if you didn't watch Captain America Civil War, you knew nothing about Black Panther. The only way you could have honestly knew about Black Panther before Civil War is if you're an actual comic book head and you know about all these characters. Now, I have to retract just a little bit. So obviously, if you didn't know about, if you're not a big comic book fan, you obviously wouldn't know about Black Panther. But again, the title alone is captivating to the black audience, and I get it. Black Panther, you know, you think about the whole civil rights thing back in the day. You think about the strength. You think about all of that. However, I saw a great tweet, and I'm going to repeat it to you. Black Panther is not a civil rights movie. Again, Black Panther was not a civil rights movie. So I think that's where the disconnect comes from. When you see the title and you automatically think, well, black movie. No. Black, the movie is a superhero movie. He's a black superhero from Wakanda. And, you know, I just feel like sometimes it's just hard for my culture to be objective about certain things, And so I had a conversation with my cousin, and I'm like, I asked her a couple questions. I said, "Do you know who T'Challa is?" She said, "Who's T'Challa?" I said, "Do you know what vibranium is? What's vibranium? And do you know what Wakanda is? What's Wakanda?" So the fact that you don't even know those three basic principles is what agitates me. It's like, do some research first. You know what I mean? And no, I don't feel like anybody did any research. And this what brings me to my next point. So since this is a superhero movie, I want people to understand that there's black people that like T'Challa and there's white people that like T'Challa. So there's honestly more white people qualified to talk about T'Challa than there is black people to talk about T'Challa. Now, that's unpopular, but however, it's a fact. The comic book universe spans very, 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 very large, worldwide. There's lots of people who read comic books and science fiction. So my point is when you go to the movie and you watch the movie and a white person is done watching the movie and a black person is done watching the movie and they throw up the Wakanda Forever sign and you look at them in disgust, and then you see a black person throw up a Wakanda sign and you look at them with dignity, I feel that's hypocritical. Due to the fact, first of all, we'd already discussed the lasting message. T'Challa is the new king, and he said he's going to open up his borders to make better peace and better relationships with other nations. So that's not just black nations. Because if you remember, Wakanda didn't even want to be discovered. They wanted to be their own separate world, if you may speak, hence the special effects when I said that it made Wakanda look like another world. They didn't even want to be found or discovered. They didn't even want to do that, which is Killmonger's whole thing is what he said, hey, you guys got all these resources and our people out there struggling, and then you don't want to help. So, like I said, I just feel that's hypocritical when the lasting message is talking about peace and it's talking about being equal and having equality and things of that nature. And then you look at a white person and discuss like, yo, you can't throw up the Wakanda Forever sign. How dare you? But T'Challa's lasting message was, we're going to open up our borders to make better peace with the United Nations, and we're going to have a better opportunity to move towards unity. So that's my thing. So after watching that, and you see a little white kid throw up the Wakanda Forever sign, how can you possibly look at him in disgust? He watched the movie just like you. Just like you get very pumped up when you see a bunch of little black kids throwing up the Wakanda Forever sign. My point is that, again, the superhero community spans very large. So again, white people love T'Challa and black people love T'Challa. There is a lot of people that read the Black Panther comic book, a lot of black people that did, and I will guarantee you there is also a lot of white people that read the Black Panther comic. So my thing is that when a white person has an opinion on Black Panther, specifically a negative opinion about Black Panther, that's their opinion. And so this is where my other point comes from. Now you want to say they're racist because they don't like the movie Black Panther. Again, I just finished saying that it wasn't the greatest movie ever. I'm saying that it's not the greatest movie ever. And I definitely mess with the culture. Anybody know me, they know I love my culture. But again, I just feel most of the time and a lot of the time, it's hard for the culture to be fair and to be objective. So again, I want to reiterate that Black Panther was not a civil rights movement. Was there a preponderant amount of black people who loved the movie and went to see the movie just because there's a black cast? Yes, absolutely. Are those people at fault? No, I'm not saying they're at fault. However, what I'm saying is, do some research on it before you go all gung-ho about, oh, this is a black cast and this is so great and it's the greatest movie ever because the cast is black. That's irresponsible. That's honestly a shallow opinion. You know what I mean? And the thing about it is, I said in the beginning that I want Black Panther to be considered for Best Picture at the Oscars. And I feel like Every time a black person says something like, "Oh, this is a black movie, this is our movie," I just don't understand how how the Academy could look at the movie and say, "Man, I might vote for that for Best Picture." If black people just try to grab it and keep it for ourselves. Like I said, there's nothing wrong with supporting your own people. I love that. However, the message in the movie specifically stated T'Challa, the person that everyone loves in this movie, at the end said that he is opening up his borders to try to improve on unity. So again, why can't we do the same thing? That's what I want to implore the culture to do. I want the culture to be fair-minded, first of all, and I want them to be objective in actually rating this movie. Because I feel from the people that I've discussed, so when I say anybody, I mean any of the people that I see on Twitter, Facebook, not Facebook, because I don't have a Facebook, Instagram, Snapchat. I'm talking about any of those people that I've seen and talked to that does not have an objective opinion about it. And so I'm going to share this story with you, and the story actually hurt my heart. And it comes from my man Will DeWolf, my cousin's husband, great guy. But he said that he went into a Walmart with his little brother Michael. These are white guys now. He went into a Walmart with his little brother, and he was off doing something, and his little brother went and saw the movie Black Panther and heard two older black guys, talking about the movie. And they were talking about how great it was and all the actors in the movie and how awesome it was. So little Michael goes over. I think Michael is like 6 or 7, if I'm not mistaken. He goes over and he says, "Hey, I love Black Panther too." These two black men proceeded to tell him, "Why do you like Black Panther? Stick to your own movies." That hurt my heart because that's a child. That's a child that really don't understand the concept of racism or being racist yet. They don't understand it. And honestly, they don't need to understand that. Because you know what that conversation does? It perpetuates racism. So again, the culture loves the movie. They say it's the greatest movie ever. The last thing that is left with the culture or the people who watch the movie is that we should expand the borders of unity. But you have two older black men that tell a little white kid to stick to his movies. How is that promoting unity at all? I want someone actually to come to where I'm at, and we talk about this one-on-one, and I want to discuss this of why it's so tough when it comes to the Black Panther movie. Not any other stuff. We're strictly talking about the Black Panther movie and the things that have come from it. We're going to talk about that. I want to understand, why is it hard for the culture to be objective and be fair? Because again, if there was a group of white people that said F Black Panther, what would we do? We would throw around the R word, the racist word, and we would label them all types of bigots and other things just because they didn't like the movie. But again, I want to explain to the culture, my culture, that the superhero community is very vast. And there are different ethnicities and cultures and races who love superheroes. So why is it okay for us as a culture to take Black Panther and internalize it and keep it for ourselves and tell little white children to stick to their own movies? Because if the roles was reversed and little white children told little black children that they can't be Spider-Man, Iron Man, Batman, or Captain America, we as a culture would literally be in an uproar, and everyone who's listening to this knows it. So again, I want someone to explain to me how any of that is okay. Like, you can't be a hypocrite. You have to be fair, and it has to be one way. If it's okay for little black children to be Iron Man, Batman, and Captain America, I think it's awesome and progressive that a little white child will want to be Black Panther for Halloween. Like, my nephews, they love Spider-Man and Batman. They don't care nothing about if they white or black. They love the actual superheroes. So that goes the same for white children too. They don't care nothing about that Black Panther black or just the fact that Batman's white. They like the superhero, the actual superhero. And I love that. So my thing is that I want the culture, that this is what I'm imploring the culture to do. I'm imploring the culture to try to be fair minded, and try to be unified. I know that's gonna be hard. And see, the thing about it is that a lot of people who've watched this movie view it as a civil rights movie. So it's gonna be hard for them to ever try to, move past what happened almost 200 years ago. We're never gonna forget slavery, ever. That is gonna be ingrained in our hearts forever. However, again, I'm gonna say this for the probably the umpteenth time. If this movie that portrayed to us at the end, it was the last thing that we saw. If it portrayed to us that we should expand our borders as a culture, if we should expand our borders and exercise unity, how come it's hard for us to do that? So now I'm extending an invitation to anybody who wants to come and talk on this podcast and explain to me why it's tough because of this movie and about this movie, why it's tough for our culture to be fair-minded and also expand the borders of unity. Because again, as I reiterated before, I just feel like that comment that those two black men made to this little white child, I feel like it perpetuates racism. And again, for the 100th time, if the movie is imploring us to expand our borders of unity, why are we not doing that? Why are we not using this gift that the culture has gifted to us? Why are we not using it responsibly and using it as a tool for a greater message? Why are we not, trying to include everybody in this awesome thing? I love it when white people try to understand our culture. And honestly, I feel like it's our job to educate them on our culture. And every white person isn't going to try to understand our culture. That's just the world we live in today. However, I feel it's our responsibility to find the ones that do and educate them on this. And again, I love the Black Panther movie because it opened up for great dialogue. Again, I also want to thank all of you guys for listening to my first podcast. I just want to thank you for listening to my ideas and my takes. I appreciate it. And again, I just want to extend the invitation to anybody who wants to come and talk about this subject with me on this podcast. I'm extending the invitation to anybody. So I want to do that, and hopefully somebody takes me up on that offer. Also, I want to thank all the listeners out there for listening. I was very nervous doing this podcast. I didn't want to do it, but I feel like this is a message that should be heard and that should be explored by certain people, and we will be exploring more topics such as this. I think I want to do some music topics. Also, we're going to do a lot of sports topics, and then we're going to also do more movie topics. We're just going to be a progressive podcast that offers, different perspectives on different things. I want to get away from, what the regular mold is, and I kind of want to shift it and move to a different way of thinking. The culture has one way of thinking, but I want to articulate myself to where the culture can understand my way of thinking. Also, I want to hear you guys' feedback on social media. I have 3 forms of social media. I'm on Twitter, Instagram, and Snapchat. So my Twitter is @edaniels77. My Instagram is RamsFan77. And my Snapchat name is RedHood145. And I go by the Pink Mamba on Snapchat. So I just love to hear you guys' feedback, negative and positive alike. I'm always open to hearing what everyone thinks. Obviously, again, these takes aren't popular, so I want to hear what you guys think. So yeah, just hit me in any of the DMs. I would really appreciate it. Also, I want to shout out my little brother, Tails. That was his beat at the beginning. And anybody else who have any beats that they don't like, I want to throw them into the beginning of the podcast just so we can always start it out with a dope beat because I love beats. So just send me any of them through Twitter, through any form of social media. I'm gonna post this podcast on my SoundCloud, so hopefully you guys check it out there. And then once it's on SoundCloud, I'm gonna post it on iTunes and on Google Play. So be looking out for that. I would have posted on Tidal, but I guess Tidal not messing with people's podcasts like that. So, yep, just look out for it on SoundCloud, iTunes, and Google Play. And again, I thank you for listening.